Right, so China's new regulations on gaming disturbing. Yeah, I've actually read up on this one in my private time. The idea of censorship in China has gone, at least just from my experience on the gaming industry, it feels like that it has gone out of hand. But who knows though? Who knows though? I could be reading through this on the surface level, and maybe it gets worse. It's a little worse than I personally would imagine things to be. So go ahead and check this out and see how worse it actually is.
At times on this channel, we've talked about regulations in China regarding video games. Oftentimes this topic comes up when we're talking about Hoyoverse and Genshin Impact. Well, apparently the government of China, the Chinese Communist Party, has released a new set of guidelines that they plan on implementing in regards to online video/television and video game streaming. So I took a look at this myself, and I think you might find it interesting as well, so I'm bringing it here to you. Let's take a look. If you find this sort of content interesting, a like and/or subscription would be much appreciated. And from number 1, strictly forbids the streaming of illegal games. TV shows, reality shows, streaming, and short videos are not allowed to mention video games that are...
Strictly forbids the streaming of illegal games. TV shows, reality shows, streaming, and short videos are not allowed to mention video games that are not approved by the upper management. Streamers are not allowed to use their streams to promote illegal, not approved games on various online game platforms. Okay, so unless it's actually approved by higher ups and stuff like that, like certain games and certain TV shows and the like, well, any sort of media really, like would be subjected to whatever like this whatever the higher ups would deem to be approving. So yeah, this is going to be a little bit problematic, especially for streamers, because streamers over there in China would be very restrictive to what they could play, to what they could talk about as a topic or any form of subject. So already this is already beginning to be a little concerning.
Are not approved by the upper management. Streamers are not allowed to use their streams to promote illegal/not approved games on various online game platforms. Okay, so keep in mind the translation is a little bit scuffed, but we should be able to get the point. It sounds like if you're going to stream a video game, you need to be sure that video game has been approved by upper management. I don't know if that could mean some Chinese Communist Party members in a managerial position in a company, for example, or if they literally mean some kind of government entity that will approve or disapprove video games and make them illegal or legal. Number 2, reinforce the supervision on video game streaming content. Online streaming platforms need to double check on the content and promotions, strengthen the management, effectively control the content public opinions, establish a robust system that controls the information publicly, comments and emergency censorship, perfecting the monitoring and prediction of online opinions.
Basically not bend the narrative, more like control the narrative of what should be deemed topical or not. Jesus.
Emergency censorship, perfecting the monitoring and
reinforce the supervision on video game streaming content,
prediction of online opinions. Again, the translation's a bit rough, but that sounds a bit dystopian in my opinion. To be fair, I guess dystopian could be used to describe a lot of things the Chinese Communist Party does. Now, moving on to number 3.
A little off topic, but the word dystopian more or less tossed around a lot these days, to the point where the word itself feels like it's lost most meaning, where dystopian it like mostly refers to a minor inconvenience and the such. But with that said, just reading through this, it really does feel like that the Chinese Communist Party seems to have some level of oversight into what the public should and shouldn't think about, what they should or shouldn't talk about, and the like. Thinking about the ways in which the CCP would be able to do is a little disturbing. You wouldn't be able to picture this in somewhere like the U.S. because because as much as people would abuse fair use laws, it is something that we do have in effect. It's something that we do have at least in existence. Whereas in China, I could be wrong, but I don't think that anything like that exists in China. They're really isn't any way to for the public to be protected by that. Only the CCP oversees what the public will do with whatever information that they present.
To be fair, I guess dystopian could be used to describe a lot of things the Chinese Communist Party does. Now moving on to number 3. Reinforce the behavior of streamers. Platforms need to guide the streamers and viewers to interact politely and rationally, donating reasonably, and work together to protect the civil and healthy environment of online streaming. Streamers need to maintain a healthy taste, consciously abandon trashy, vulgar sexism and other low-level interests, consciously oppose spamming behavior, ill-informed aesthetics, fan-based maniacs, money-worshipping, and other bad phenomena. Consciously resist the behaviors that damage the civilization, morale, and harmony of the internet.
Honestly, though, a couple people come to mind when it comes to this particular statement here. I'm not normally loud. I'm not normally, the kind of person that would intentionally troll people and as such. Like, I think if anything, I'm kind of a quote unquote good boy when it comes to that. If anything, I'm squeaky clean compared to a whole lot of other Twitch streamers here and there. But I will say, this does impact a whole lot of streamers that do rely on that sort of content, whether it's for shock value or for anything else, or it's part of their identity for the most part. I don't agree, but I can understand why streamers would use that. If this particular regulation was everywhere in on Twitch and on YouTube, or hell, any streaming platforms, then no one would be that unique at all. They're all the same. Like, it's just the same. And as much as as much as that whole trash talk thing doesn't jive with me, it's at least something that people can gravitate towards. And this is just I don't agree with it at all.
Consciously resist the country that actively uses labor camps, trying to protect the harmony of the internet. Number 4, strictly banning people who is morally incorrect or unlawful to use online streaming platform to make public appearances. Platforms need to control the selection of hosts and guests by checking their political knowledge, moral, art standard, social appealing. Never use people that are politically incorrect, violating the law or morals.
Again, referred to my last statement. This is more or less similar, but this is more along the lines of making sure that people do not voice their opinions regarding the CCP or anyone really. So definitely a form of censorship that I don't jive with.
5. Urge the online platform to protect teenagers under 18. Urge the online platform to implement anti-addiction to teenage users. Take effective measurement to make sure teenage mode is effective.
I'm sorry, what? Urge the online platform to implement anti-addiction to teenage users. Take effective measurement to make sure teenage mode is effective. What? Wait, you make it sound like that teenagers are these lifeless husks, these robots that... What? That is actually stupid.
Implement real name registration system. Forbid teenagers to make donation and establish service to return the money that was donated by teens.
Okay, so this one, I'm just gonna say this. You're more than welcome to disagree with this or not. The CCP should not be the ones to regulate what children and teenagers should and shouldn't do. That's the job of the friggin' parents. That should be their problem, not the government. I mean, just listening to this, reading this, this is just what? I mean, I can't really come up with words to even describe what I'm reading because it is just so ridiculous. But the fact that it's even happening, it's crazy.
Teenagers to make donations.
Although the money though, teenagers should be responsible with their money. They should, because they're gonna be on their way to being adults and as such. But that's the part of life, though, isn't it? I mean, you should be able to do what you want with your money. But the thing is, this is just a no for me. That's gonna be a no for me.
The internet has brought, but I think you can also argue there are many negative things that it has also brought. And I don't know if more government involvement is the best solution to remedying some of the negative aspects of the internet. From what I've seen, is it not accurate to say that historically, even going back thousands of years, most, if not all, governments end up becoming corrupt and failing? I would also like to point out where they say implement a real name registration system. It's very interesting that they put that idea as some sort of like protection for teenagers. What's going to happen when those teenagers grow up and they're adults? Oh, they're still going to be in that system. Now, I'm sure the CCP already tracks people on some level, depending on how much of their interest is piqued to that individual, so to speak. But I can't help but wonder if this is just a way of getting more control over people in general under the guise of, oh, we just want to protect the kids. And finally, number 6, strictly implement the approval system. When a game is on the streaming platform, the broadcast and streaming setting need to be submitted to and approved by relevant administration of radio and television. Platforms need approval before co-streaming gaming events or esport tournaments that is held outside of China. Hereby, we ask provincial bureaus and administration to guide local streaming platform and gaming studios to focus on prominent problems, refine management, strengthen government, and effectively implement these requirements.
Hold on a second. We do game on the streaming platform. Again, this is more or less set by approval. Yeah, I mean, I've already talked about this just a little before, but this one focuses more on trying to get approval to co-stream or stream game events or esports tournaments that's, basically just outside their jurisdiction. So if it's approved, then sure, they're good to go with streaming certain events. If not, then yeah, that's a no-go.
All right, and that is the news.
These regulations, the current regulations that are on that the CCP is implementing, is already concerning enough. But the question is, how much further are they willing to go? Will game companies that publish their games, will they see this as something that's worth investing in further? I don't remember if it was around 5 or 6 years ago that the restrictions for publishing video games outside of China to China has been eased up a little bit to the point where developers / publishers are willing to abide by Chinese regulation just to censor a couple things here and there, just so they can get to the big market that's going on in China. My question is, with these new regulations in place, would game companies still feel that it would be worth it? Is it going to be worth all of the time, effort, and trouble just to get their game published over there? How much of that game would be compromised outside of China just so approval could be easy over there? I don't think, in my mind, that game publishers / developers would be willing to make a second version of something that's approved for China and another version that's approved for everywhere else in the world. Genshin Impact already has a few things in place, such as no more feminine males in the game. I mean, Ventia was, it seems like Ventia is already going to be, might in the future, might end up being altered in some way that he wouldn't be perceived as a feminine boy. And considering the costumes that have already been in place with certain characters here and there, like Amber, Mona, Rosaria, Jean, how far are they going to go before they decide perhaps investing in the Chinese market isn't worth it anymore? And that goes for other game developers as well. How far are they willing to censor their games before they say, screw it, we're not selling our games in China anymore. It's just not worth it anymore. I am not a businessman, and nor am I a developer. So I don't really have a say on what they should or shouldn't do. But it's my hope that whatever they end up doing, let's just hope that whatever they do, they just do what they think is right. So, and yeah, this is and seeing a video like this is going to be I'm only curious what's going to happen in the future.